Hello everyone. So in this video I'll be talking about some of the media that I've watched, read, consumed in any way in the recent weeks or maybe months. I don't know. I don't remember. It would be like some weeks of June, some weeks of May, and this week of July, the beginning. And as recent as the beginning of this day, or even, yeah, you get the point. So without further ado, I'm going to start. I have written what I want to talk about, because I don't want to forget midway what I was supposed to say. Yeah, it's capybara happy notebook. It has a passcode. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to start with the movies first, and then I'll do the television series, and then I'll do the books that I read. Books being only 2. Okay, the first movie was, this is in no order, by the way, because I don't remember the order. A Special Lady. This was a Korean movie that I did not enjoy that much. I mean, it was okay. I'm not gonna say that it was bad. In no way was it bad. But I just think when it comes to spy and gang war movies, I think there's many more better ones out there as compared to A Special Lady. Especially in Korean cinema, there's far better movies out there. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about this movie. It was just okay. I'm not gonna say that I regretted my time watching it. It was interesting to say the least. Okay, the next is Sheep Detectives. This is a fairly recent launch. I like this movie pretty much. It was just a bunch of sheep who solve a crime, who solve a murder that took place in the village that they lived. The murder being that of their own shepherd. Yeah, it was your average children's movie. There was a moral at the end, so a plus point for that if you want to watch with your children. Okay. I also watched Godfather Part 3. I actually did not know that there was a Part 3 of did I say Godzilla? Oh my god. I also watched Godzilla -1 because Godzilla -0 is about to come soon. I watched Godfather Part 3 because I in fact did not know that there was a Part 3 to begin with. I watched Part 1. I loved it. Godfather Part 1 is literally one of my most favorite movies of all time. Godfather Part 2 is even better than the Part 1 because I liked the key role of Al Pacino and the little backstory that we got of Vito Corleone. That was good. Part 3 was okay. I wouldn't say it was good. It if Very Well wasn't as good as part 1 and part 2, if I compare it with an average film, it was good. But if I compare it with the Godfather trilogy, then it was bad. It was pretty bad. I did not like it. I guess Al Pacino just hard carried the movie, but he was old, so yeah. No Other Choice. This movie came out last year, and I read the parts, and my sister said that she watched the movie. So I was like, why the hell have I not watched it yet? So I did finally watch it, and I really liked it. Obviously, why would I not like it? Obviously a class critique, as always in many Korean movies, as we see, because there is a pretty stark class difference in South Korea. I mean, there is a class difference in almost every single country out there. Some accept it, some deny it. It really depends on the people. And in No Other Choice, they very specifically show how... No, I think I'm mixing two stories. Sorry about that. I was gonna talk about Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, because in that movie, it was that when the rich mourn, we mourn with them. But when the poor mourn, we don't really do anything because we don't care. Not we, I do. Not for every poor person. But as a society, I think we should be more sensitive towards people who are homeless, because no one chooses homelessness. It's futile to think that life is like a ladder and whoever climbs first gets the top. That is not how it works. What if somebody doesn't have legs to climb the ladder? What if my ladder was stolen by person B? What if I wasn't born with a ladder? Then I have no way of climbing this ladder, which perfectly describes class divide in society. Yeah. Yes. Okay. The next movie was Breakfast on Pluto. I absolutely loved this movie. This is easily in one of my top 3, I guess. Breakfast on Pluto was so good, and it was so well written that in no point of the movie do you think, oh, this feels stretched, oh, this feels unnecessary. Not a single minute of that movie is unnecessary, and not a single minute is boring. It is going to keep you captivated through and through till the end. The movie follows the story of Kitten, that's her chosen name, Patricia Braden. She was a biological male, born a male, and her birth name was Patrick Braden. She is a trans woman, and she's played by Cillian Murphy, I know. And it really takes a very skilled actor that halfway through the movie I completely forgot who Cillian Murphy was. You watch the movie and all you see is Kitten. All you see is Kitten, because her character is so lovable, and yeah, the way she carries the story, and the entire story is through chapters written by Kitten about her life. So you follow her chapters from her perspective, and she's an Irish trans woman who was born in a village, and her mother abandoned her in front of a church and then left for London. So throughout the movie, she first faces her perils in the village, and obviously as a trans woman and a village in Ireland, nobody really understands who she is and what her identity is. So she finally liberates herself and moves to London in the search of her mother, who was swallowed by London. And it's heartbreaking because Kitten doesn't know when she's being used, and yeah, it was a heartbreaking movie and a pretty good watch, and I don't regret staying up till 2 a.m. to finish the movie. Okay, the next is In the Mood for Love. I wanted to watch Fallen Angels, but I can't really find it anywhere. So I watched In the Mood for Love. This movie was such a weird, trippy experience because the main theme, the Yumeji's theme, I actually had that in my Spotify playlist for like 3 years now. And also the Perhaps song. Both of these songs I had in my playlist. Why the hell did I say it like that? In my playlist. And to hear that both of these songs were the main primary theme, it felt weird because I first heard that theme in the like first 5 minutes of the movie, and I was like, hey, wait, I've heard this somewhere. So I scrolled my Spotify and I was like, and I guess the familiarity of the music made me drawn more to the movie because I could attach my emotions to what was going on in the screen. And yeah, it's once again a heartbreaking love story as always. In the end, I don't think anyone stays together because their love wasn't meant to be shared. It was just an experience. It wasn't something that was rigid. It was a transient thing in their long lives. So yes, as the movie title suggests, they were just in the mood for love, nothing permanent and nothing in the long term. So yeah, it was sad. Okay. The Amazing Digital Circus last part came out in July, so I watched that naturally, and it was it's a bit hard for me to say this because as the show progressed, I loved it, and even the last episode, the middle part of the episode, it was good, but towards the end, I don't know what happened towards the end. It was flat in a way. Because what do you mean? Oh, look, everything is fine now because the bad guy and the good guy make up and they just live happily ever after. That's the most childish, mediocre ending I've ever seen in a television series that is so hyped because it was so good. They just ended it because they wanted to. There really wasn't. Will they stop making? Oh my god. And they just ended it because they wanted to, and it just felt unfinished and almost like Gooseworks wanted to do more, but they didn't really have any funds to do that because obviously it is an indie brand. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in the end, but it is what it is. I also watched Memento Mori 1999 version. It was a movie about a lesbian couple in an all-girls school, and one of them is bullied, and she takes her life in the school premises, and her ghost comes back to haunt the bullies, and they die very brutal deaths. So I liked it, but I would say that the quality of the movie was pretty bad, maybe because I probably saw a random ass version on the internet archives, because I cannot find the original anywhere. So that's what I had to do. It was good. It was good. It was really loving and very, very emotional. Okay, Picnic 1996, a Japanese film. I liked it. I personally really like movies that have cinematic storytelling more than just dialogues, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Basically, I prefer something happening on screen as compared to just simple dialogues. So for instance, Picnic uses a lot of nature for storytelling. The characters are very limited and they rely on shots of the actor's face in order to convey most of the emotions, because it is a story about three psych ward patients who think that the world is going to end, and before it ends they just want to, they just escape the psych ward and they want to watch it end. Yeah, the main girl, I think it was Coco, she thinks that the world will end when she dies, because obviously the world began when she was given birth to and her mother was God. Which, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess whatever suits you. The last movie, no, this is not last. Possession was another movie that I watched, the 1981 one. And this movie was such a weird, trippy experience. I genuinely do not know what the hell was happening half of the movie, because they give little to no explanation about what is happening on the screen. It is just, oh look, something new is happening, and then you have to pause and go back, what the hell happened? And now it has no correlation with the previous scene, and I'm just leaving like, okay, I get it. Yeah. The main girl wants a divorce because she ends up falling in love with another man supposedly, and the main guy stalks her, hires a private investigator to know what happened and whether she's in love with someone else. But the main girl loses her mind and spirals into insanity because she thinks that God resides within her. That is my perspective. I genuinely have no idea. Okay. The last one that I watched was the short stories by Wes Anderson, Henry Sugar, The Poison, The Rat Trap, and The Swan. I loved all of these, but I'm just going to tell my least favorite, which was The Swan. The rest, I mean, there is a little bit of bias, as you can see, because all the rest have Ralph Fiennes in it, and I really like Ralph Fiennes. Benedict Cumberbatch is okay. I like Dave Patel too. Henry Sugar was, and the story of the man who sees without his eyes was my favorite. And then Poison, then Rat Trap, and then Swan. That's my rating. But I loved the movie. I loved the, like I already said, I love movies that have cinematic storytelling more than dialogues. And yeah, I also really like Roald Dahl's stuff. So yeah, now I'm going to start with the TV shows that I watched. I started All In, which is a Korean drama. I don't really have enough to give a review on it yet because I barely just started. I finished The Scarecrow, which was a TV about I forgot the name of the murders, but it was basically the same murder incident from Memories of Murder, which is a very popular Korean movie from 2003, I guess. It was one of the first serial rape cases of South Korea that became so popular because the murderer was never caught, and it was, I think he was identified, I think all the way later in 2017, and the murders began in 1988. And when he was caught, like, he wasn't caught, he was identified in 2017, and when they finally identified him, they found out that he was already in prison for another crime that he had already committed, which was, I think, killing his sister-in-law or something like that. So he basically never served all the rapes that he did back in 1988. He never served for them because in 2017 he was already dead. So yeah, it's a pretty popular case, which is why there's many pieces of media still being published, released TV shows, so many things about this. And The Scarecrow was also one of them, and I really liked it. At first I thought it was just a show about the rapist of 1988, but once again, like Korean cinema does, this also had a commentary on class divide and wealth gap. Basically, our primary prosecutor, he saw the main turning point of the show was in a funeral. I'm not obviously gonna go in with the details because it was pretty long and pretty hefty to explain, but he goes in a funeral of all these rich conglomerates, prosecutors, bureaucrats, and he sees that the people there are laughing, they're happy, they're chattering, they're eating, because rich people see funerals, birthday parties, weddings, any event that invites a mass of people, they see it as networking instead of mourning. And it was such a weird commentary that these people, although they have the right to mourn, they won't. While a poor person does not have the right to mourn because their funerals or their worries are always brushed under the rug. It was a good show, well directed, and I really liked it. I also finished watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, and Golden Wind. I also, now I'll begin with Stone Ocean. I think Stillborn will be available soon, so yeah. Now my new ranking for the JoJo series would be, my first would be Phantom Blood, because it is the OG and I really liked it because of Jonathan Joestar. I think his powers were far better than what other stand users have. So my first ranking would be Phantom Blood. After that, it would be Golden Wind. After that, it is Battle Tendency, and then it is Diamond is Unbreakable, and then Stardust Crusaders. That is my ranking so far. And yeah, and next would be books. I only read 2 books recently. First one was The Third Love by Hiromi Kawakami, and the other was A Breath of Life by Clarice Lispector. Now, I just finished The Third Love by Hiromi Kawakami like yesterday night, which once again I just found out that I prefer late night reading as compared to late night movies. Because allow me to explain, when I watch a movie late at night, no matter how interesting I find the movie, I always find my eyes closing on their own. I don't know why. Like my eyes just shudder, like just close on their own because they're so tired. But when it comes to books, although I do feel sleepy, but it's almost like the string of words gets trapped underneath my eyelids. So when I close my eyes, I still see the words floating on the screen, so I can still read. Which is interesting because last night I finished it entirely at 2 a.m. I think. And even though I was so sleepy, not once did I doze off. Because every time I closed my eyes, the words, the sentences, they were trapped underneath my eyelids and I could still read them with my eyes closed. It was interesting. It was a surreal experience. Okay. And it's a sad book, by the way. Don't even read it. Don't even bother reading it. Because, yeah, The Third Love, what Hiromi actually means is her third love, which was first was her husband, second was a man that she was having an affair with, and third was the true love that she seeked in life, which was something that she could pour her love into. and actually love to the fullest. Hiromi said that she wanted something or someone who she could love with all her heart, because humans are affectionate creatures and they want something that they can hold dear to them, whether it's a person, an object, an animal, whatever it is. She wanted something that was dear to her. That was her third love. There was no man, no nothing, but something, anything that would give her happiness. That was the third love. After that, I read Breath of Life by Clarice Lispector. That book, it was basically how to perceive things in your surroundings as living, and that's how I took it. And Clarice showcases how she writes and where she finds her motivation and what drives her as a person to continue doing what she wants. It is a good book if you have an artist's block or a writer's block, or if you want to get into writing but you don't know where to start. She says how she sees life into every object and how that helps her write. And yeah, it's a beautiful book, and I think you should read it at least once in your life if you want to see things from a better perspective. So yeah, that is all the media. That is all the media that I consumed recently. And a few days ago my health was like, I don't know what happened, so I read that book in that time because I was very sick, distraught and sorrowful, and there was a burning ache in my chest. So yeah, thank you for watching if you did till the very end, which I highly doubt because I was a yapperoni in this video. But if you did watch it till the very end, thank you for valuing my words. I deeply appreciate it. If you did watch it till the end, yeah, thank you and bye. I hope you have a good night, and I hope that my recommendations were good and that you would at least indulge in at least one of these pieces of media. Thank you.